Okay. Testing. 1, 2, 3. Let me make sure everything is working on my end. Testing. 1, 2, 3. Let me play a sound through this really quickly just to make sure everything is working. Make sure I can hear all this. Okay, seems to be working. Okay, let's make a melody first. I'm gonna go with like 160 something BPM. Start with some staccato strings. And it looks like we are in F sharp minor. Let's go to B minor for no real reason. I think we can just repeat this. That sounds pretty cool. Alright, let's go ahead and add some effects to it. Fruity Chorus is like super slept on when it comes to like default plugins and stuff. Do some ping pong delay. A little bit too much delay. I'm gonna mix it out a little bit. Add some reverb. Alright, let's go with a... We could keep flex, but let me see if I can find like a wind instrument in Sakura. Let's... This might work. Oh, well, that's a B. What other notes am I hitting? E and B. So I could either go with E or B here. And we can make this part just kind of really quiet. I don't know if I'm in love with this sound. Find a different sound. Well, that's kind of cool. That's a cool texture. Hang on. Baccarat has so many cool like textures and sounds in it. What we can do is do like a call and response. So we could do like this is playing sound here. We can add another sound that just kind of plays in this little gap. That might work. Let's try to find something. Let's go a little bit higher pitch because everything so far has been a little bit lower. That's too fast. Okay, it sounds kind of silly right now, but I think if we put enough effects on it, it may sound kind of cool. Let's do that. Well, the first thing I'm thinking of is chorus. And then flanges. And reverb. I need to learn how to use, okay, here's attack, okay. Here we go. Okay, I wanted to soften up the beginning of that sound because it sounded like it had like a poppy, clicky kind of noise to it, which I wasn't really a fan of. And after hearing this like so many times, I think I want to half speed this pattern that I have and then duplicate. So I'm going to take it and make it twice as long, and then we'll copy it over. And it doesn't need to necessarily be perfect because I am going to kind of randomize it later. Maybe we can move it back. Here we go. Yeah, I guess we can go ahead and save it. So this is B minor 165. And we can call it any number of things. Call it for no particular reason. Okay, so currently it's just kind of a bunch of things that are repeating over and over again. So I do want to make some things a little bit different. So maybe we can move this a little bit. Maybe this can come up an octave. Maybe the whole thing can. And then in this one, we can kind of change things a little bit by maybe taking some of these and inverting them, so moving them up an octave. And maybe we can add some flavor notes. Actually, let's do this. It'll change like that in this half, then this stays the same as the first half. And then this one, we can do something slightly different. So maybe we can take these and invert them instead. And then add some little like flavor notes, little flavor chords. So something like this. And then maybe, yeah, let's just see what this sounds like. There we go. Then we can just kind of repeat this one. So it's just slightly different. So this is basically the same as this. The only difference are like these two notes are inverted, so they're just pitched up an octave. And then this is the same as this. And then the way that I changed this 4 bars was I pitched up the like 2 different notes, and so instead of this one and this one, I pitched up. No, it was the same 2 notes. Never mind. But then the difference is I added these little like flavor chords here at the end. But other than that, it's basically the same. Let's do something similar with this. Actually, I think I want this to stay the same because it's kind of like low and in the background, so I think I'm okay with this one staying. We can add other sounds though. What other sounds can we add? I kind of like this, but I kind of don't, so I want to change this one. That sounds kind of cool. It might have to be a little bit louder though. And I think I need an EQ as well. I guess technically I could be done with the melody for now if I wanted to be, and then start on the drums. But I think I want to add more to this melodically. Not sure what I want to add yet. Let's guitar may actually sound pretty cool on this. Like a nylon guitar. I'm gonna do like a little stutter, like duh, duh. I think I want to turn this into some kind of a chord, this idea here. So I might duplicate it and move it up, see if it works. Let's try this note on a B, and then we can see how this sounds. Maybe I don't want a B, because that sounds final. Maybe I want this to be like that at the very end. So something like that is how we can end it. I don't know if I want that here. Here we go. And then I changed this note for the guitar because I do think I want the guitar to kind of be a little bit different because everything else is pretty samey and pretty like repetitive, which isn't inherently a bad thing. But I do want some things that aren't repetitive, you know, the entire time anyway. Just check on the sound, make sure everything sounds good. I need to get a like second computer monitor or something so that I can see chat and stuff without using like my phone. Something else we can do to make it different is like add some extra little like strums, the same notes. We can do something like this. Ooh, I like that. So maybe we can strum it late like that. Ooh, that might have been cool timing too. I don't know yet. Yeah, that didn't sound right. Ooh, I think we can be a little bit more interesting with this. Maybe we move this note up. There we go. Okay, so let's copy this over. And then remember that we wanted this to be like that here. So these notes can be moved down to the B now, I think. So let's move these down to the B. And then what? Okay. And we can get rid of that. See, how else can we change it in the second half? Because I like I said, I want to make the guitar a little bit different. And like change over time. I think I want the chord notes to be the same, like these. So maybe we can do something like what we just did here with these two notes and just kind of like make them hit, like bounce off of each other instead of playing at the same time. Maybe something like this. Maybe we can just go like duh, 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 like back and forth. That might be cool. And then maybe we do something similar here where we kind of cut this off short and then it comes in late. Oh, that's already what's happening there. Wait. Maybe we do both. Maybe we go here, here. Bounce again, maybe? This may sound terrible. I'm not sure yet. But I guess we'll find out. I'm just going to play from there. Ooh, I like the idea of this kind of going back and forth and then not like resting here. So maybe we like, okay, so we go up, down, up, down. Maybe we go up, down, up, up, down. So it changes. This. Ooh, yeah, yeah. And then we can do the same thing with these and just kind of move the timing back. And then maybe move the timing of this. Holy cow, my mouse. Move the timing of this one forward. This may be too much. Maybe do that. There we go. Okay, and then let's add some lower notes to this. That sounded terrible. Yeah, I think I just need to keep it simple with the bass notes and keep everything on the root note, just B. let's add some effects to it. Again, Fruity Chorus is slept on. It is such an underappreciated plugin. I don't want to add too many effects like delay and reverb. I might add some, but I don't want to go too crazy with it because then it'll push the guitar really far in the back of the mix. That's already kind of how these sound. They already sound like they're in the back quite a bit. So I want some contrast. I already have things in the back, so I don't want this one to be pushed quite as far back. But we do want to add a little bit of reverb. And I'll probably mix it back so that it's not completely off. Okay, and as far as, I think this one's pretty low. So I'm going to take this pad and separate it. And my strings I don't think are too low. No, they're not. My guitar has some low end in it though, so I might push that one out to the side as well. This one does too, but it's mostly this like mid-upper range. So I think I'm going to separate the guitar as well. So I'm basically just separating things that have more low frequencies in them. Boom, 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 boom. Okay, let's try adding drums. I think I want to go with like slower boom bap, although I might do trap, I'm not sure yet. Okay, I'm going to add a snare so that I have something to like bounce the kick off of. It'll make it easier for me to place the kick. So let's find some snares. We'll start with this one and I might layer a sound with it. I might change it later, I'm not sure yet. Let's start with this one. Well, that's kind of neat. I might go back to that. It's also neat. I think I'll go with that. And then we're going to copy this and paste it, but then I'm going to change it so that the kick pattern is kind of changing over time. So let's add like a little, take away this bottom part. And maybe we can add one here for no reason. Let's take away 1, 2, 3, 4. So let's take away this one. And we can take away this one. This one might not sound good, but let's just see what this sounds like. Here we go. Okay, copy it over, and then again, I'm going to change it in the second half. So it's like the kick is just kind of always a little bit different. So let's do like a little, oops. We got. We can do like a ba-dum. Kind of cool. And then maybe we can take this one off. Okay, and then add some extra notes here. Leave that one, add a note here. Take that one out. All right, let's see what this sounds like. I think I want to add another texture to this snare. Okay, I think I want to fade this snare in a little bit so that the first snare that I added is kind of taking that beginning sound, and then this one's filling out the sound after that initial impact. And I'll do the opposite with this one. So I'll make the decay I'll make it kind of fade out at the end. I'm not sure that the polarity really matters in this case. I'm also not wearing headphones, so that might be why I can't really hear the difference. I want this one like lower. Not that. Okay, so this one is that. I really want the high end of this one. I don't want much of the low end. Okay, and then the opposite is true for this one. I don't want the high end of this one. But it sounds like I'm kind of missing some impact. Check the play. Yeah, that might be the correct way. Okay, so Okay, so since this is like the noisy part of the sound, I'm going to separate it. And then because this is the impact part of the sound, I'm going to make it mono. And then I'm going to process them together. Okay. Let's process the kick a little bit more. I don't think it's the right kick. I'm going to change the kick. Might layer this kick with another kick, kind of like what I did with the snares. So let me see if I can find like a noisier kick. Maybe that. And then I'll put it on the same thing. Let's add some like counter snares. Let's see. Snares. There we go. And then anything that's not a main snare, main hat, you know, something like that, I'm going to pan it left to right. Like that texture. That sounded cool, but I don't know if I want to early. But I think I want it after like a kick, so maybe here. But that puts it. Do I have anything there at the beginning? Doesn't look like it. I could go there. And left to right, just like all the other counter snares. And then, just like how I panned all the counter snares, I'm also separating them, so that they're like the sounds are kind of coming from the sides and edges instead of down the middle. Got some hats. And with the hat, I think I'm going to keep it relatively simple, and I'm just going to, sorry if you hear my roommate laughing in the other room. I asked him not to make too much noise, but hello, Mr. Prodigy Official. How are you? But yeah, I'm going to go not too crazy with the hi-hat. I'm mostly just going to follow like the patterns that I already have. So kind of just putting them on the same places as other things. So let's go here, 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 and then maybe we can add some like in-between stuff. So there's one there, so maybe we can add like an in-between note there, and then mess with the velocities. So maybe take these and lower them and just see what this sounds like. Yeah, make that work. And copy and paste. Oh my god, my computer can't control my mouse. There we go. Yeah, we can just copy and paste that. Hopefully my microphone sounds good and everything. I've got it, well, set up as best I can currently, but yeah, hopefully it doesn't sound terrible. All right, let's lower the velocity of our hi-hat a little bit. Don't want it too loud. And then I think I want to add some like open hats and crashes. So let's go with the classic, oop, wrong one. The classic Blessings crash for the very beginning. And then I think I want to add, like I said, some like open hats or crashes or something kind of throughout. That one, that's the one I want. This one's such a cool sound for boom bap especially. But it's just like a, like that. I don't know how to describe that sound, but it sounds cool. Yeah, there we go. And then just copy and paste. And just like my counter snares, I'm going to pan my open hats and crashes left to right. The exception is the Blessings crash because it's only hitting on the 1 and the 9, so I'm just leaving it alone. But basically everything that's not a main hat, main snare, that sort of thing is getting panned left to right. How is everybody doing in the chat? I know some people were in there earlier, but I'm having to read chat off my phone, which turns off every so often, so I don't know if anybody is still there. Hopefully everybody is doing okay. Alright, let's put these on the mixer channel. And I might add an 808 lately with Boom Bap, I've been using like bass guitars, but I haven't really been using 808s quite as much with my Boom Bap. So let's see if we can't find something that sounds pretty good. I know a Spens will probably sound good. Spens almost always sounds good. There's a reason why people use it. Oops. And I'm going to give it a little bit of a boost in volume. A little bit right here. We can make sure we hear it. And let's see what it sounds like. Ooh, my computer. Take it easy there, buddy. I was waking out there for a second. Alright, let's put on our 808 preset. And I'm going to turn off maximum. Always check the polarity of your 808s and kicks. It can make a huge difference in like how loud it sounds. Like if you just isolate them. I can kind of hear the impact a little bit more this way than I can this way. Say that. Yeah, I can hear the impact better this way. And B4 is pretty low, but I'm not too worried about it. I think A sharp and A is about as, well, B might be about as low as I'll go with 808s typically, depending on the 808. Some can go a little bit lower and still sound fine, but once you get into this A and A sharp range, with the 4, it gets pretty low, you know, and it's hard to really hear the 808 when it hits. And I think we can keep it pretty simple with the 808. Say that. Maybe we can add little like flavor notes here. Yeah, something like that. Ooh, I can hear like a vocal on this. Might record a vocal in for this. Before I do that, I'm going to use this term really quickly. I can't believe how small this text is, even after I maximized like the screen. That's hilarious to me. Okay, so what was I doing? Oh yeah. I wanted to see if I could record in a vocal. So I don't know how this is going to work with the stream up. I guess we'll find out. So if my audio cuts out, it's because I'm changing this. So hopefully it doesn't completely cut out. Hopefully you can still kind of hear me. Does that work at all? Testing, hello. You're not? Oh, it's because it's not. Testing. Here we go. I can't hear anything anymore anyway. La 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 la, testing. Okay, so I don't know if you could hear my voice during any of that because I had the like audio settings flipped over. But let's see what this sounds like. I can't hear anything anymore anyway. La 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 la, testing. Yeah, I need to get some headphones so that when I flip the setting over, I can actually hear stuff. But as it is now, I can't hear anything when I'm recording audio in. I can't hear anything anymore anyway. I can't hear anything anymore. I can't hear anything. I think we can use that. I can't hear anything. Alright, so I'm gonna consolidate this and then just kind of throw a bunch of effects and stuff on it and try to get the timing right, and then hopefully it'll sound cool. Let me check my OBS just to make sure that, yeah, okay. I can't hear anything. I can't hear anything. Okay, so the timing was almost good. I can't hear anything. 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 This is funny because I really couldn't hear anything when I was recording this. I can't hear anything. I can't hear anything. I think I can repeat that. Anything. I can't hear anything. Oh, that's not the whole word. Where does it start? Right there? Anything. There we go. Anything. I can't hear anything. I think it would sound better if this was actually chopped up a little bit more. I can't hear anything. I can't hear anything. I can't hear anything. I can't hear anything. Okay, so let's consolidate this, and then I'm gonna probably throw like gross beat and halftime and stuff on it and make this sound like completely different. So let's do that. I can't hear anything. I can't hear. I can't And we don't need this anymore. I can't hear anything. I can't. Okay, so I think we can do anything. Reverb. Anything. I can't hear anything. Anything. I can't hear anything. Anything. I can't hear anything. Anything. Do some flanges. It's cool. Actually, I said gross beat too, didn't I? We could try some gross beat. Hang on. I can't hear anything, anything. Ooh, what if we did like, where is it? One in here. That like lets you reverse. Maybe not. Yeah, I think the halftime is doing enough. Okay, let's consolidate that. Okay, and I think I'm going to go through and make some of these things sound realistic. Like the instrumentation, the melody. Let's do that. I'm going to copy these samplers so that I can save some patterns on them. Then I'm going to go through and humanize everything. So this is the staccato string. So the first thing I'm going to do is hit Alt-A, or I'm sorry, Control-A, Alt-R, and that pulls up the randomization menu. Control-A, Alt-S strums the notes. Alt-Q pulls up the quantizer, and then you can select a different grid and then kind of halfway quantize to get some form of randomization. Hit Accept, and let me make sure I'm going off the grid. And then I'm going to also pan some of the lower notes on the downbeats. So the 1, the 3, the 5, the 7, and so on and so forth. I can't hear anything, anything. I can't. All right, and then let's do the same thing for the other ones. So Control-A, Alt-R. Alt-S won't do anything. Well, it will actually. Alt-S will strum, because we do have notes on top of each other, right here in the middle here. And then Control-A, Alt-Q pulls up the quantizer, so we can get some randomization. And we can kind of accentuate that a little bit by excuse me, my voice cracked. By like moving some of the notes back a little bit more. Uh-oh, computer, there we go. Computer. Hello. Here we go. Okay, so move some of them back, and we can do the opposite, move some of them forwards. And then we'll do the same thing. We'll pan some of these notes that are on the downbeats. Okay, let's go to the next one and do the same thing. This one, it's not quite as important because it's just that little like, yeah. I guess we can still randomize the notes and the timing, but that'll probably be it. I don't need to do too much else with it. Okay, let's go to the next one. Okay, I am going to randomize this one. Alt-S strums everything. Alt-Q pulls up the quantizer, and then we can kind of randomize it a little bit more. Okay, just barely moving the notes a little bit. I can't hear anything. And we can hand these notes for the opposite of the other one we just did. And then go to the next one. Oh, that's the 808. Okay. So that's all of the melodies. So let's save these patterns. See, will be there we go. And then I'm going to save on CPU. I'm going to consolidate them like individually. Let's do the staccato strings. Okay, and were my staccato strings? No, they weren't. Okay. So I don't need this anymore. Now we'll go to the next one. Okay, so this one was separated. So this is like a, I don't know, like an atmospheric, like pad type deal. We're gonna call this a like deep pad. And we had that separated. Okay, so we don't need that anymore. Let's go to the next one. Yeah, that was those little doo-doo-doo noise. Consolidate that. I think this is like a, what's the word for it? Not staccato, but there's a word for like when you pluck the string. Can't think of it off the top of my head, but there's a word for that. So these are just like pluck strings. And we will do the same thing for the others. And was that? No, that wasn't. It was. Okay, so. And we had our guitar, which was separated. Okay, so we have guitar rated. And I think that's it for the melody pieces. Okay, so this was the vocal melody thing. Which I might honestly just use for like an intro or like a bridge or something. I may not use it for the whole beat, but we'll see. Okay, so let's get rid of these. We don't need these. And let's make some room, because I'm going to put all of these guys on the mixer channel. Anything. Okay, so that's all of our like melody pieces. Let's go ahead and arrange it a little bit. So do something like this. Let's see, maybe at the beginning we can play the guitar and that. And this can come in late. The vocal melody is kind of busy, so it's kind of hard to play it with other instrumentation. Maybe if I do play it with other things, I'll like fade the volume out. Maybe we also make it really quiet. And then maybe we make the guitar come in the second half and we take something else out. Maybe the pad. Ooh, that 808. I forgot to put a soft clipper on the master. Yeah, I think for now that's a pretty decent arrangement for like the two halves. So like this and this kind of play throughout. And so because of that, we can like fade it in and out. Maybe it fades in here, fades out here. Sounds cool. And then I'll have to like kind of change some of the drums at the end so that it doesn't just abruptly stop like that. And I want it to kind of lead into a bridge. And the bridge will be probably this. So like a little bit of everything basically. Then I'm going to put halftime on it. Oh, and then we can make this a little bit louder. So the bridge will look something like this. Got halftime turned off basically the entire time except for bridge. And sometimes I'll turn on the halftime like in the middle as well. Like kind of towards the end of, or towards the beginning of a phrase. So like I'll let like this half play, and then in this half I'll kind of let halftime fade in for a second. This can sound cool. Let's see what that sounds like. Yeah, just like a little thing that makes it just a little bit different there for a minute. Okay, so let's go ahead and split the pattern up. That and paste. Okay, so there's a lot of sounds, so I don't know if I want all of them playing at all times. I think I'll have the hi-hats fade out a little bit at the end of both phrases, and then at the end of, at the beginning of this phrase here, I'm also going to fade these hi-hats in so that they come in after the main snare or the main clap. And then I'm also going to remove the crash here, and then because anytime I remove sounds like this, I like to make them come in a little bit like different when they do come back in. Not always, but sometimes. So I might take this crash. So because I took it out at the beginning here, I'm going to add some extra hits in before it comes in later. So it's going to come in later here. So before that, I want it, some slight craziness. Maybe. Yeah, something like that. Okay, and then I'll do the same thing for some of these others. So there's an open hat here that I'm going to take out. And then because I'm taking it out, I'm going to make it get a little bit crazier before it comes back in here. So I'm just going to add an extra note or two. This. Okay, and then let's do the same thing for the snares. This will be cool because it's like or actually, let me move it. Like 1, 2, 3, so they're evenly spaced. But we can make them like descend, so it's a little bit different pattern-wise, pitch-wise. Let's do the same thing for this one. Oh, that's cool. And then we can also take out, so I've got like 2 different textures layered for the main snare. I can take one of them out for part of this. And then have them come in like that. Although, I think I'm going to take out the 808 here and then do the same thing with the 808. Make it go kind of crazy right before it comes back in. So this will be like the only time in the song that you hear this. This and the other time that it's going to happen, because I'm going to copy and paste this half. But let's pitch this up and see what it sounds like. Actually, I do that one other time right there, don't I? Yeah, it doesn't matter. Maybe we can do like do do do. Not cool. Okay, and then I want to take out the kicks and 808s at the end of each phrase after like the main snare. So this will help with like what I was saying earlier, where I want the end of this to kind of fade out so that it's not so abrupt. Let's see if it sounds like that. Yeah, that's better. Okay, so let's copy and paste. Oops. We don't want all of this other stuff. We want that. Let's throw in our tags. I can't hear anything anymore. Na, na, na. I like to do two different tags, one at the beginning and one at the end. And one, it doesn't sound like a tag, it just sounds like a laugh. But that's intentional. And then we can process the drums now. Okay, before that, I'm gonna go use the restroom. Quick restroom break. Text bigger. Whatever. I'll be right back. Okay, so we have our tags added. Now I'm going to go through and process all the drums, and then I will likely mix and master. I've already been mixing as I went, but I'll master everything as well. Let's see. Oh, this was the vocal melody. Okay, so let's take all of our hats, open hats, crashes, whatever, put them all on one. And I'm really only putting an EQ on them and then using a limiter to, I'll sidechain stuff later, but also just to kind of observe things and see how it looks. Separate it, move it over. Then let's put all of our snares together. I've got my 2 main snares and then all of these. So now I have my kicks being processed, my snares and claps being processed, and then all of my hats being processed. So let me separate here to see. And then I'm going to take all of those and process them all together. So I'm taking my kicks, my claps and snares, and then my hats. And I'm going to send all those over here. And this is going to be called the drum. Okay, and then to make the drums hit a little bit harder, I'm going to use some parallel compression. So I'm going to send it to 2 different places. And I'm going to, on one of these, I'm going to over compress the signal. And then on the other one, it's just going to be the send signal for both the original signal and the over compressed signal. So here is the over compressed signal. So drum over compression. Here's the send. And then the over compressed signal, I'm only sending about 30% usually. Or take. You can go do more or less depending on how it sounds, but God, I love that kick. So without the over compression, here's what it sounds like. And then with just 30% of the over compressed signal mixed in, it sounds like this. So it's just a little bit beefier, a little bit harder hitting. And like I said, you can mix the over compressed signal into taste. If you have it all the way on like this, it's going to be too much. because that's way over compressed, obviously, which is why we only mix a little bit of it in. Turn up the melody a little bit. Let's let this run a little bit further too. Hear what that guitar sounds like. Okay, alright, so let's start mastering this, because we're pretty much done with the mixing. Everything sounds fine the way I have it. So let's master it. So to master it, what I'm going to do is take basically all the sounds and put them on one bus, process them together, send it to the master, and then do a lot of those same processes again. So let's take the melodies, the 808s, and then all of our drums, which are already over here, as well as our tags, and send it all to one bus. Okay, and we're going to call this our pre-master chain. You can probably get away with doing like the mastering all in one like bus, but I kind of have it split in two. So I've got my pre-master chain, and then I'll throw something on the master, which I just call my master chain. But all of it is just the mastering, but it's split into two different, like I said, two different buses. But on the pre-mastering chain, the first thing I'm going to do is EQ it. I'm cutting the lows and cutting the extreme highs, and then I'm also boosting the low lows a little bit. Sometimes I come back and take this out if it's, you know, if there's too much low end. It just depends on the track. For now, I'm going to leave it because I like the way it sounds. But I usually like start with it on, and then later on I'll come back and take it out if it's too much or if it doesn't sound good. Sorry, I had to get some water. Okay, so the next thing in the chain is going to be Maximus. So I've got 3 different instances of Maximus, and in each one I'm going to be doing basically the exact same process. The difference will be like the band placement and like how much I compress. So in each instance of Maximus, you'll see that this thing is going to be in different places. So on this first instance, on all of these, it's up by the 9, much by the 9. On the second instance of Maximus, that's going to be brought down closer to the 6, closer to the 6, the 6. And on the third one, it'll be down by the 3. And what that means is the amount of compression that I'm doing is less, like as I go. So the higher up this is, the smaller the ratio is, basically. So like the less compression is actually happening. So I'm essentially compressing more and more as I go. And the other differences are where the bands are. So on this first one, you'll see that my bands are pretty extreme. I've got 50 hertz and below for my low band. Then my high band is about 10K and above. On the second instance of Maximus, I will pull them in. So you'll see instead of by 50, it's up by the 175. And then instead of being by the 10K, I brought it in by the 5K. And then on the third instance of Maximus, it's going to be, well, I'm going to treat this one slightly differently with the bands, but the idea will be the same. I'm mostly just pulling the bands in a little bit further than I did before, but we'll get to that one when I get to that one. So let's do the first instance of Maximus. You'll notice that on all the lows, I'm pushing the entire stereo into mono a little bit, and then with the highs, I'm doing the opposite. I'm pulling it like to the separated field, and I'm doing that in small increments as I go. So in every instance of Maximus, I'm doing that a little bit. And then I'm also using some other plugins that are doing something similar. And linear phase is always going to be turned on as well, because if you don't have it on, you can sometimes get phasing issues, which completely ruins a lot of like kicks and snares and stuff like that if you don't. So just have that turned on and it'll help alleviate a lot of that. But yeah, let's begin. So let's look at the low band. And again, this is 50 hertz and below. And for this one, I kind of treat this one slightly differently than the other bands. I try to make sure that this range gets up at least to a certain point. And that certain point is negative 8.7 decibels or negative 9, like where this negative 9 is. And it looks like I'm actually going above that there when the kick and the 808 hit together. But I'm not going above that any of the other times. So I kind of want a little bit more consistency with how loud I'm getting at this low end. So I'm actually going to push up into this compressor a decent amount. So let's start pushing. I pushed until I started to see a little bit of compression on just the kicks. And then what I'm going to do is I don't really want these little bits of information down here because I don't know what that's from. It's not from the kick and it's not from the 808. So it's probably just bleeding over from one of the instruments that, you know, didn't get EQ'd out or something like that. And it may cause muddiness. What I'm going to do is put a dot as low as it will go. And I'm going to take anything that's below this red line and make it quieter. I'm going to arc this line down like this. And you'll see that after a certain point, it starts to, like, this right here, when it comes down like this, it means it's pulling the volume down. So it's coming down, and then anything below that line, the volume is getting reduced. And then I'm going to do the opposite with stuff that's louder in this range. So I'm going to take anything that's above this line and all the way up to where it's getting compressed and arc it up, which is going to do expansion, which kind of brings the volume of that up for a second. And I'm not really worrying about level matching for this one band because of what I said at the very beginning. I'm trying to get my low end to where it needs to be. So I'm not like level matching yet because I'm balancing as we speak. So I'm not worried about that. In every other instance, aside from the master, I am going to level match because I don't want to change the balance of the song. So let's go to the mids. And again, the mids are basically everything here. It's between 50 and 10K hertz, so it's almost the entire track. So the compression I want to do here is pretty minimal. In fact, I'm already doing some compression there where it gets really loud. I don't want to compress too much more. Just push a little bit. I think 0.8 is probably fine. So I pushed up 0.8 decibels into this compressor. So let's pull back by 0.8. For the highs. Now I'm going to treat the highs a little bit differently than everything else. In most of these cases, I'm going to compress the highs more than everything else. And part of the reason is because oftentimes your main claps, your main snares, your secondary snares, whatever, a lot of those sounds have some sound bleeding into the high range, which isn't automatically a bad thing, but I want my hi-hats to pretty much dominate that higher range, that higher register. And so I'm okay with compressing down these higher frequencies in these other instruments so that my hats are a little bit more, well, dominant in that higher range. So let's compress this a little bit more than we would the other bands. And in this case, it's actually not a snare, it's that open hat. But I still don't want that sticking out and being like that much louder than everything else. Let's go a little bit more. Okay, so I pushed this up by 2.2 decibels. So I'm going to level match and pull this back by 2.2. For the high, or the master. And I'm already doing some compression here. I don't need to do too much more. Let's just push a little bit. Call it a day there. So 0.2, I'm not going to level match because it's the master and I'm not changing the balance of the song. I'm just making it louder at this point. Okay, so that's our first instance of Maximus. Now I'm going to do that 2 more times, just again, with the bands kind of moved slightly. Let's go to the second one. Here are the bands. I just moved them in a little bit. Let's start with the lows. So push this up by 1.1 decibels. Let's pull it back by 1.1. Go to the mids. I could pull this down or I could push up into it. It doesn't really matter which way you go. This may be the perfect amount of compression here, so I don't have to adjust the levels at all. Yeah, I think that's good. Let's go to the highs. So we pushed up 1.8. Let's pull back by 1.8. Bro, come on. Push a little bit more into the master, not too much. Go to the third instance of Maximus. Now this one's going to be a little bit different because I'm going to go to the mid band, solo it, and then I'm going to move the bands until I can't hear the kick or the 808 too much anymore. And then the same thing with the high band except for the hi-hat. Let's start with this one. Okay, now I don't really want to hear the hats. And now the process will be basically the same. The only difference is setting it up. And the purpose of this is to make it so that the mid band is basically dominated by the main clap or the main snare, which you can see it is. I have some secondary snares that are also pretty loud in there, but you get the idea. It's really the snares and claps that are dominating this middle band, which is what I want. Let's start with the lows. Push it up. We can push a little bit more. So I've pushed up 0.6 decibels, so I'm going to pull this back by 0.6. Go to the mids. Okay, we just want to barely compress down the loudest things in this section. And then we're also going to do a little extra step here in this one. Once I get this where I want it. I just barely want to be compressing the tops of these snares. I push this up by 1.6, so let's pull it back by 1.6. And then the extra step that I'm going to do in this middle band section is I like my main claps and snares, and sometimes the secondary ones, like in this case I've got a secondary snare that's loud. But I like those to be a little bit more present, and I like them to poke through the mix just a tad bit more than they usually are. So I'm going to use the expansion function and bring this up so that just the loudest stuff in this section get expanded. Just a little bit. You can see it's bringing up the volume of that just a little bit there. So we did a little bit of compression, but we're also expanding the loud stuff here. Go to the highs. Really just want to grab that stuff that gets away from us in this range. We don't want anything sticking and poking through like that too much. Okay, so we pushed up by 1.9 decibels. Let's pull back by 1.9 decibels. Go to the master. Push a little bit. Probably good enough. Okay, so let's go on. I've got two Pasher presets. This one is for stereo separation and putting things in mono versus separated. I'm doing this with Maximus as well, so the settings are pretty light. So just the lows are being brought into the mono, and then the high frequencies are being pushed out to the sides. And then I'm kind of doing the opposite in the middle, but you can play with those to taste. The other patcher preset I have is a mid-side EQ, so I'm cutting the sub-frequencies from the sides. I'm kind of boosting some of the bass frequencies a little bit. then cutting the extreme highs. And then this is the signal just to the mids. So on the sides, I have the EQ and the EQ on the mids. But on the mids, before it gets to the EQ, I've got a fruity limiter, and I'm adding a little bit of saturation. And also, because of how I processed everything just a minute ago with Maximus, everything, especially in the mids, is a little bit louder than it was before. And so I'm going to limit it a little bit here as well, as you can see. I'm doing a little bit of limiting at the top, right there. Okay, but not too much. And also adding a little bit of saturation, like I said. And then an EQ, which is cutting the extreme lows. That's probably redundant because I'm doing that so many times. Same thing with the highs. And I'm also going to turn on Smart Disable just to save some CPU. And then I've got a Wave Shaper, which is currently in a like hard clipping setting. And I'm also kind of boosting the lows a little bit, like the quieter stuff, and adding a slight amount of like distortion to it. And I'm pushing everything by 5%. So I'm essentially clipping off the top just a little bit, and then I'm pushing everything 5% louder into the hard clipper. And because I'm clipping off the top a little bit, I can come to a limiter that's directly after it, and I can push 0.3 decibels into this limiter without limiting at all. You can see I'm pushing 0.3 decibels because I clipped that off the top in the previous step, but now I'm able to push the volume up just a little bit more. So that's the pre-master stage done. Now I'm going to send everything to the master and do some of the same processes, but just a little bit more so. Okay, so let's go to the master, and I've got a master preset. And again, you could probably get away with doing all this in one chain, but for whatever reason, I have it in two different chains. I've got an EQ cutting the lows, and then two compressors. And then this compressor is mixed almost all the way out because the settings are a bit ridiculous. I've got 0 attack, a slow release, then the threshold's being brought down by 30 decibels, and then the gain's being pushed up by 20. So this compressor is mixed almost all the way out, almost all the way all the time, because if it's not, it sounds like this. And you can hear like everything pumping in and out, and that's obviously too much compression. But if you do too much compression and then you just kind of barely mix it in, it can sound kind of cool and add a little bit of extra like heft to your sounds without destroying it. And then this compressor has more normal settings. I've got a little bit of a slower attack and a faster release, bringing it down about 10 decibels for the threshold, and then just pushing up a couple of decibels in gain. And again, this one, sometimes I'll have this one mixed all the way on. Sometimes it's like halfway on. It really depends on the track. I think it's a bit too much for now, so I'm going to mix it back. And I might come back and turn this up a little bit later. And then I have another Maximus instance, and I'm going to do the same thing I did on the other instances of Maximus, and I'm going to treat that one the same way I treated the third one, where I'm going to solo the mid-band and then pull them in until I can't hear the kick or the hi-hats. I'm going to do that same sort of thing with it. The difference will be I'm now limiting instead of compressing. So you'll see it on the low band, the mid, the high, and the master. This is now flat instead of being by the 9, the 6, or the 3. So I'm not really doing varying levels of compression. Now I'm doing limiting. So the difference between limiting and compression, I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, is limiting is just compression, but with like an infinite ratio. So you're just reducing the volume by as much as you can, basically. If you have a more in-depth or a better way of describing the difference between compression and limiting, feel free to throw that in the comments. But the process will be basically the same. So let's solo the midband and pull this in until we don't hear the kick as much. And do the same on the top until we can't really hear that hi-hat. But the process will be basically the same. bad I can't. Go to the mids. And I'm going to do the same thing on the mids as I did before, where I'm going to compress, or in this case, limit. Excuse me. Just a little bit. And then I'm going to use the expansion function to kind of pull the volume up a little bit. Excuse me. Okay, so let's push into the limiter just a little bit. And then we're going to make the stuff that's the loudest be just a little bit louder. And I pushed 0.6 decibels into that, so let's pull back. 0.6. Go to the highs. Okay, so I only pushed 0.1, so let's back by 0.1 to the master. We have another patcher preset, which is doing the same thing as before, just kind of putting things in separated versus mono. And then I have a limiter and a soft clipper. So I'm going to use this limiter and soft clipper to kind of, well, I'm going to do some soft clipping, but I'm going to use the limiter to kind of tell me how much I think I can push into the soft clipper before I start to notice like sounds getting destroyed, basically. So let's use this to kind of look and see what things look like. Okay, so it looks like we could probably push maybe that far, 1.5. Might be too much, but we're going to start there. So I'm going to push 1.5 decibels into the soft clipper, and we'll go from there. So I'm going to take this limiter and put it after the soft clipper, and before the soft clipper, I'm going to raise a 1.5 decibels. So I raised 1.5 decibels. It goes into the stereo separator, which doesn't change the volume, so it doesn't matter. And then it goes into the soft clipper. It gets soft clipped, and then we're going to see it here. Okay, that's looking pretty good. Now I'm going to use the Ulean loudness meter to kind of tell me how loud everything is and to make sure I'm not going above 0. So, and if I'm not loud enough, I'll push more volume into everything. Okay, so let's put it a little bit before. Actually, a little bit quieter than I usually am. So I might push a little bit more volume into the compressors or the soft clipper. So some of that stuff gets kind of loud there at this section. So hang on, let me. There, that's where it gets loud. Okay, so let me quiet some of these guys down a bit. And then what else? I think it's this. Yeah, that's what it was. Okay, let's listen again. For the velocity of this one. Sometimes I do this, like when I'm mastering, I'll let some of this stuff play so that I can make sure that things don't like poke out too much and don't like, because sometimes you don't realize that until you've pushed the volume of everything else up. Sometimes it's hard to tell when things are like way too loud. I'm also going to, which sound was that? I think it's this one. Yeah, it's this one. Lower these. Okay, let's run it again. Oh yeah, and I said it was a little bit quiet, and it didn't look like I was getting above 0, so I'm going to push a little bit of extra volume. I'm going to turn the mix up on this compressor a little bit. And I'm also going to push an extra little bit of volume into this soft clipper. You can see we're getting a little bit louder now. We are getting up to 0. So just to make sure that doesn't happen, I'm going to lower this by 0.1 decibels. So this is the entire track is being lowered by 0.1 decibels. Let's let this run one more time and just double check and make sure everything is where we want it. Oh, something I forgot to do was sidechain my kick. Well, I think the volume levels are actually fine the way that they are. Let me go ahead and sidechain my kick to a bunch of different things. And that's actually going to help us be able to push a little bit of volume. I should have done this before I mastered everything. Because I might have to go back and like double check my mastered and make sure I can't push a little bit more volume. But yeah, let's sidechain the kick to all kinds of stuff. So I'm going to sidechain it to the melody, strangely enough, but the ratio is going to be pretty light, so hopefully it's not going to be noticeable. Yeah, just barely ducking the volume down. And let's do it with the 808. I'm going to do it a little bit more aggressively with the 808. Okay, with losing more volume and it being a little bit more noticeable. Okay, I'm going to do it with the snares as well. Oh, I don't know why I did it to... I meant to do it to the hats. Okay, so let's do the claps and snares. And this is going to be kind of similar to the melody. I don't want it to be super noticeable. Maybe more so than the melody, but not as much as the 808. For the 808, the ratio was all the way up, so. Do the hats. ratio is pretty light for basically everything. I just want the volume to duck just barely, so it's not really noticeable. But when you do that with enough things, hopefully the idea is it will make a noticeable difference in the end. Let's check the loudness again and see if that affected it. Things are looking good. Okay, and that's basically it for the mastering. So I don't need this anymore, so I'm going to turn it off. Let's save this. And by the way, if you know how to use this tool in a better way than I'm using it, or maybe I'm using this tool incorrectly in some sort of way, feel free to let me know in the comments. Because I've just kind of, within the past few months, started using it, and so I'm kind of learning as I go. But yeah, so let me know if I'm using it incorrectly or could be using it better. But yeah, so it's turned off because I don't need it anymore. Let's save it, and that's going to be about it for this particular beat, and I think the stream as well. So let's let this kind of run for a second, and then we will call the stream.